I'm working on a project at the moment, a sheet metal project, and I'd just like to show you a few things about flaring or belling, which is fairly popular in sheet metal work. It both enhances the look of the job as well as increasing the structural integrity of whatever component you're flaring or belling. So we have a bit of metal here, which is 1.5 gauge hot rolled, just folded into a channel, and it's part of a project we're doing. I'm not going to show you the actual project at the moment. We'll show that in a later video. But what I'd like to do is to just show you what we've done first to prepare before we do the belling. Is we've cut some holes into the sheet metal, spaced out evenly along the length. The holes were cut with a Starrett bimetal hole cutter in a special holder, which is mounted in a drill press. Don't try and do it with an ordinary hand drill. It's a little bit awkward and very, very hard to do. And I actually do mine in a milling machine, which is better still. But a pedestal drill is fine. So you cut the holes and clean them up. There's always a lot of edge burr on the downside of the cut, so you have to get rid of that with a flat wheel mounted in an angle grinder. And you can also use the deburring tools to get out the fine stuff. And then finally give it a rub on a wire buff, mounted on a rotary wire buff. So after that is done, you're ready to start doing the belling. But first you need some tools. So you can go and buy expensive tools, and they are quite expensive to buy in sets. But the cheapest and best way to do it is to machine up the tools in a lathe. Now, you may not have a lathe, so you'll obviously need to find someone. But this is the bottom part of the die. It's got a 45-degree angle, and the holes in the sheet metal were 1 inch. So we've made up a tool to do the belling and flaring for the 1 inch holes. That's the top part of the die. You can see the profile there. The little edge locates in the 1 inch hole. That's the angle of the flare, and that's just a recess here to make it leave clearance when you're doing actual belling. So the two tools just fit together like so. Very neat. And like when you're making these up, you just do it by trial and error in the lathe. You don't have to go to any expensive CAD drawings or whatever. You just make them up as you go, and they're quite simple. They really are. So when we're ready to do the belling or the flaring, whatever you like to call it, you just press that into the hole, and that pokes through like so. So you got this bit, and you just locate the little spigot locates in the hole. So that's now ready to bell. Now, in thin sheet metal, you can just give it a thump with a hammer, a large hammer, and that will create the bell. But because this is 1.5 hot roll, it's fairly strong. So we actually put it in the press and make the flare that way. So you can see the flares here we've just done on a piece a little short time ago. Very neat, all correct and cleaned up, and it looks really nice. So we'll set the camera up at the press, and we'll do this other sheet and just show you how it's all done. So we've got the camera set up near the press here. Now just to explain about the press, it's just a fairly normal home garage press, which I built myself many years ago. Its capacity is about 20 tonnes, but I've only got a jack which is about 12 tonnes in it. But that presses an enormous amount of stuff with most cars. You don't need a lot of pressure. It's all about the fit and the way it's all assembled. But if I need a large press, I've got access to one in town which is 60 or 80 tonnes, and very rarely do you need one that big. Anyway, we'll do this little bit of pressing now. I've got the sheet and the dies all set up, and just put it set up under the anvil. So bring the press down, just slowly presses in. First one done. We'll do another one. There we go. Another one. And so you don't need a hugely powerful jack. So as you can see, very, very neat, and it does the job beautifully. There you go, do it again. There we go. So it's not hard to do, only takes a few minutes. I'll do the other couple. So there you have it. We have all the holes all flared, all belled. They pretty clean on the edges. It's not too bad. Need a little bit of a clean up, maybe with a bit of emery. We'll give it a whip over with the rotary buff on the bench grinder, and that'll be all good. So that's how you do the belling and flaring. Very, very simple, only simple tools. One other thing I mentioned, when you actually do the belling, you'll sometimes get a very, very, very slight bow in the actual piece, and you might get a little bit of bowing, which should be flat. So what you do after that is put that back under the press, turn your die upside down, and just give it a good press at each flare. And that will just stretch the metal back to where it was before. Not the flare itself, but just the metal surrounding it. There we go. One more. And she's all straight, as we did one, but yep, dead flat. Beautiful. There you go.